Hi, this is Craig Severance from the Zero Energy Channel. Come join us as we work to address the challenge of moving toward a world with zero energy from fossil fuels. Okay, we're starting the installation of our subfloor, which is this tongue and groove plywood that's approximately 3/4 inch. I don't need to go into a lot of depth here. There's a lot of videos on the YouTube channel and elsewhere that show how to do this. There's one in particular, a 3-minute one from a company that, judging from its name, probably has a geographic range that ranges all the way from Georgia to the Pacific. A lumber company that has a real nice 3-minute video on how to do this, and they basically say you want to be using the construction adhesive to glue it down, and then you're screwing it down. I use these 2.5-inch deck screws that have the star heads on them and the impact driver to drive them in. And that's about all the tools you need, except to cut the boards. And then when you're putting it down, they say to use come off the edge about 3/8 inch. You can't really go any closer to the edge than that, or you're going to wreck the edge. You can't go much farther than that, or you're not going to grab your floor joists underneath. And so that's worked out pretty well. Along the perimeter, they show every 6 inches for the screws, and in the middle, about every 12 inches. Their graphic shows all the perimeter ones going in first, and then the middle ones, which is not usually how you would want to do it, because if there's any warping of the board whatsoever, you're going to want to work from one side of the board over to the other side, bringing down as you go. So you would be bringing everything down from one side to the other to let any bows or warps come out and get pulled downward. And if you left the middle for last, you're not going to allow that to happen. So that's just a little tip, standard carpentry. So we're going to be doing this. Next, we're going to just determine whether the theoretical idea that the tongues fit into the grooves will work in practice. Of course, if you've watched our recycled building materials video, you know we're using mostly reclaimed building materials for our project, and you do have to clean them up. If there's a lot of gobs of construction adhesive on the back side of these sheets, you don't want that to mess up your level plane. So we're cleaning it off, and it doesn't look very good on top either, but it is really sturdy, and that's what we're looking for here with the subfloor, just to support the weight. I don't really care what this looks like as long as it's sturdy enough and it's fitting the bill for that, and we saved a lot of money by using the recycled lumber. See some of the tools we use in this process laying there, the large square, the rubber mallet, and I found that actually a framing hammer on the wooden block worked a lot better than hammering on the wooden block with the rubber mallet to get the tongue and grooves to come together, and I found that out toward the end. Here's the big embarrassment, where we found out when we put the second row of boards on that, and they were straight to the framework, that we got this big wedge that just kept opening up on us. And after that, what we did was just go with what was straight, and didn't have a lot of problem after that. But I have to now fix this big wedge, and we have to fill that in. We're not going to fill in just the wedge. We're going to cut out a rectangle that we're coming 10 inches back from the straight board, which is the second row, and we're going to make a cut there, remove that section, and then put in a board that spans from one joist to another so it has support. You don't want to just try to put a thin wedge in here. That's the point. You cut out enough to put in a good strong rectangle, and that should work. Okay, you can see I cut well, it's actually not a rectangle, but it's for a rectangular space. I cut it 10 inches back from the straight board on both ends, which isn't the same dimension into the crooked board, of course. But we're going to put a straight board in there, and that should close that gap. And of course we use the cutting with the circular saw, setting it for the 3/4 depth so we don't ruin anything. Now I'm going to have to use my pry bar to get this off because of course we glued it down, but this is the repair process. We'll patch it in and then we'll actually have the floor done. That actually wasn't that difficult to pry up that section after you take the screws out, and construction adhesive does some good, but it's actually pretty easy to bring this sheathing, this force sheathing up, which is why we have so much available as recycled floorboards that you can get, like we did. That's why I say it's not pretty, but it is still sturdy. And you can see we've got a good rectangle there now that comes off the straight board. Our problem, I think, on that corner was that we pushed everything, including the frame, up against the front of the trailer because we really were trying to maximize the space between that bar and the wheel wells, because we have a lot of piano we're trying to put in there, and so we and the bathroom and the laundry, so we didn't have a lot of space. So that ended up not being straight with the rest of the frame, and that's why we ended up with the wedge. But now it's going to get fixed, and we'll have our floor done. Well, we got the boards on deck, and they're not pretty, but they're sturdy, you know, and that's what we need them to be. As we mentioned, we did get that straightened out, and after that the tongue and groove worked fairly well. So here is Eric standing on our completed subfloor, but right now is probably the last time this is going to look like a trailer. It's changing from looking like a trailer into looking like a house. We now have the subfloor, so we can build our walls and our roof and continue, and it will look like a house. Thanks.
And it's finally done.
Yes, the subfloor is finally done, which was hard, but it's a lot easier once you find out that it's a lot better to use a framing hammer on that wooden block than this subfloor. It felt so good pounding those last few repair ones in with tongues into grooves, and we got it fixed, and it's a floor.
Hello, my name is Eric. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up down below. Also, if you want to subscribe, that's good too. Join us on the Zero Energy channel.